I know many won't agree with this message. Many won't want to hear this message. Many will have something to speak against this message, but I don't care. I'm on assignment. And I'm referencing from Jeremiah 14. I'm going to start at verse 10. This is basically speaking about there, have your way, Holy Spirit. There are times that the Lord will instruct you to pray for your spouse, to pray for whomever, to pray for a situation. There will also be times when the Lord will lead you to stop praying for them. There are sometimes messages that are given that God will never tell you to stop praying. God will never tell you to stop praying for your spouse. Let me give you scripture for this. So Jeremiah 14, I'm going to start at verse 10, and I'm reading from my NIV version. This is what the Lord says about this people. They greatly love to wander. They do not restrain their feet. So the Lord does not accept them. He will now remember their wickedness and punish them for their sins. Then the Lord said to me, do not pray for the well-being of this people. Although they fast, I will not listen to their cry. Though they offer burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Instead, I will destroy them with the sword, famine, and plague. I'm going to go further. But I said, alas, sovereign Lord, the prophets keep telling them, the videos on TikTok keep telling them, the videos on YouTube keep telling them, these other men and women of God keep telling them, you will not see sword or famine. You will not see the sword or suffer famine. Indeed, I will give you lasting peace in this place. Then the Lord said to me, the prophets are prophesying lies in my name. I have not sent them, or appointed them, or spoken to them. They are prophesying to you false visions, divinations, idolatries, and delusions of their own minds. Therefore, this is what the Lord says about the prophets who are prophesying in my name. I did not send them, yet they are saying, no sword or famine will touch this land. Those same prophets will perish by sword and famine, and the people they are prophesying to will be thrown into the streets of Jerusalem because of the famine and sword. There will be no one to bury them, their wives, their sons, their daughters. I will pour out on them the calamity they deserve. So here's the thing. I don't want you to take away from this that those people who are saying, God is telling you to pray for your spouse, those may be the instructions that God gave them. And I've made messages about this, especially if you're a part of the Married to Purpose community. Sometimes where we as prophets, we as servants of God, we as God's mouthpiece, sometimes where we are in error, we make it seem like something that God is speaking to us pertains to everyone, as if someone couldn't have different directions or different instructions, or Holy Spirit may not be ministering, or Holy Spirit may be ministering to them completely different. We make it seem like our personal experience applies to everyone. Our path applies to everyone. Our instructions apply to everyone. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Our downloads apply to everyone. It is not always across the board. Sometimes there are corporate mass messages, but this is why we always, as prophets, have to be intentional about telling the people, take this back to God to see if this applies to you. But many of God's people are being misled because they're listening to these trusted sources that are telling them, don't do this, or do it this way, do it that way. That may apply to who they're called to and who they're assigned to, but not everybody who comes across that message is that their instruction, their download, their provision, their revelation. You have ears to hear, this will make sense to you. But I say all of this to say, there will be times that Holy Spirit will begin to tell you to stop praying for this particular individual, to stop praying for your spouse. There will be times that's what you're supposed to do. Fast, pray, war, intercede, stand in the gap. Yes, for God to cover them, for the enemy to not take over their minds. But there's times when the Lord is like, I will not hear your prayers. Don't pray for them in this particular season, in this particular part, because I need to give them over to their own minds. There are times that your prayers can be blocking the will of God for a particular moment, a particular outcome that he needs to happen. So if Holy Spirit has been telling you or unctioning in you and stirring in you to stop praying for your spouse. I'm going to use a spouse for an example because many of you follow me or come across my messages because of my marriage ministry. If Holy Spirit has told your instructions were to stop praying for your spouse for this particular moment, and then you come across another message where someone says God won't tell you to stop praying for them, and you take heed to what they said and not what Holy Spirit told you, you're in error now. You're in error, and now your prayers are going against the will of God. Now you're getting in God's way. This message does not apply to everyone, okay? But you have to know if that's how Holy Spirit is leading you. There are times you are supposed to continue praying and continue interceding, continue standing, and continue fighting, continue warring, continue fasting. But you got to know, is Holy Spirit leading you that way? Is that what he's instructing you to do in that season? There are moments you are supposed to do that. But then there are other moments where Holy Spirit says, lay this at the Lord's feet. Turn them over to me. Stop praying for them. At that point, that is when the Lord wants you to switch those prayers to, Lord, let your will be done. Let them be reconciled back to you and leave it at that. You have to know what God is telling you for your situation and take heed to those instructions. So sit with the Lord with that. If it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't apply to you. But where we as God's people are in error because we hear things, we always try and take heed to everything that we hear. If you don't know the Lord's voice for yourself, I can't stress this enough. You have to spend time with him. You have to read the word. You have to stay in his presence. You have to stay at his feet. When you have your own relationship with God, not religion, but relationship, and you're filled with the Holy Spirit, and you have learned Holy Spirit's voice and what his nudgings and promptings, what they feel like and sound like, you won't be led astray. You won't be misled. So when you hear messages that are saying, keep praying, keep praying, keep praying, that may apply to those people, but that's not what God told me. I'm not going to come out of position and out of alignment with the way that God is leading me. You see what I'm saying? It would clear up all of that confusion if you have a relationship with Holy Spirit for yourself, if you have ears to hear. And if you don't, now's the time to build that relationship with God. Know God for yourself so you don't be led astray, so you don't get these messages that may get you out of alignment because that particular message did not apply to you. That particular message, thank you, Holy Spirit, may have been a last season's message for you. Maybe it applied at one point, but for where you are now, maybe that no longer applies. This is why we have to be intentional about allowing Holy Spirit to help us unlearn even instructions that he once gave us. We have to be willing to unlearn and then make room and space to relearn what our right now instructions are, what our right now directions are, what is now for this season, for this moment, because God is always doing a new thing. I hope this helped. I hope this gave you some clarity. Either way, take it back to God before you grab it and see if this applies to you.